All right, before we get into it, let's do a little bit of breathing, okay, if you're able to. So with the breathing, guys, get nice and tall. We're just going to do this for about 90 seconds. I'm going to have you do connected breathing. So notice how you feel now and at the end of the 90 seconds. Again, 90 seconds is not that long a time. If you do this for longer periods of time, which I'll do when I'm not teaching the Monday night lessons, I'll do this for an hour sometimes Monday nights, and it's pretty awesome what you feel. But you're going to breathe into it. It's all going to be through the mouth. So normally I don't teach the mouth breathing, but it's getting you a different effect. So it's going to be in through the mouth. And it's one connected breath. Okay, it's one connected breath. So there's no pause. It's everybody got it? So we're going to go 90 seconds. Sit nice and tall. Go ahead and begin. In through the mouth, out through the mouth. Connect the breath. Real big breaths. Got 1 minute left. Thirty seconds. Ten seconds. And relax. So remember that, guys, using your breath to affect your state is very powerful. It's a very quick way to change your state, breathing. So there's all different types of breathing you can do as well. All right, let's dive into it. So Rip Dad of the Week is Anthony Kasparek. Anthony he's done Rip Dads a few times now. It looks like he's in the lead. Well, he is in the lead. It's a good chance he's going to win. So Anthony has been I know he's really pushing for this. Anthony did Panda with me one time. Dramatic change in what this guy's done with his body. Thought that was a cool shot of him. And, real proud of him for how he's always consistent. I mean, he was in there when we're doing the workouts like tomorrow night at 8:00, or no, tomorrow night, I think I said at 7:30. He's coming to that. He's showing up at 5 a.m. I mean, the guy is really working and trying to continue to transform his life. So good job, Anthony. You get a hat when you're at the gym. And if you win the Dads, you're going to get the special trophy at the end. Be cool. All right. So we're going to go over a lot of mind map stuff tonight. I'm going to take you guys through some visualization. I'm going to teach you guys how to use theater of the mind. So you have 6 environments with mind map. Okay, 6 different environments. You have the inner, which you can see right there. The big part of that is the visualization, which we're going to go over tonight, and the inner dialogue. Inner dialogue is huge as far as that's what you're telling yourself. That's what you become, really, right? What you focus on, we went over this, what you focus on is what you feel. So that's a huge thing, the inner environment and the inner dialogue. The second environment, I'll run through the other ones just so you have an understanding of them, is the naked self. This is where a lot of people will be driven to join a program, like a fitness program, or change their body, because there's a lot of threat here. when you expose yourself, okay, this is what I look like I used to do with bodybuilding, right? It can be very threatening because you perceive judgment. Here's the thing with the naked self too. It really is, it's all about, once you get the inner game right, you being confident in what you look like. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. And guys, most other people could care less what you look like, right? It's really just about you and maybe your wife. That's about it. You want to look the part for the kids, but nobody's walking around, man, look at him. You know, even if you see a guy that's like a freak show, like muscles coming out of his ears, after a couple minutes, you know, you don't really care. It's whatever, you know. So you just think about that, okay? The projected self. So how you dress, what possessions you have, tattoos, things of that nature. That's projected self. What are you trying to project out to the world? The home environment, everything in every room. This is an important one. Environments are a key thing with our brain when it comes to mind map. So if you're in a room that's cluttered, or you're in a room with let's say a picture of like you know, an old girlfriend or something, it can make you feel certain ways. So you want to be very mindful of what is in each room. And you can do an audit on all this stuff, but do an audit and say, okay, how do I feel when I'm sitting here? How do I feel in this room? And you go about and change it, because environments are very, very powerful on your brain. The work environment, pretty much everything you can influence. But a big thing with work environment is the people you work with. That's a huge thing. And usually when I do the mind maps, guys, it's about relationships most of the time. Okay. It could be romantic, or it could be relationships within the workplace, as far as people you work with and maybe not liking them or not liking the culture. So that's a big thing. And external is everything else that doesn't fit into those categories. We're going to focus a lot on the inner. Okay. The inner environment number one. It's all up here. This is where it starts. So you have to become aware of your thoughts. And if you see I have metacognition or meta thinking here, the first step with the inner environment, guys, is being aware of what is going on. Most people have no concept of what's running through their brain. And the problem with that is that we are hardwired for the negative, as I've taught you in some of the mind map stuff. We're hardwired for the negative. So you're going to, if you don't take control of this, everything your brain is going to look for is going to be survival based, but meaning it's going to scan for threats. It's going to scan for people that are judging you. It's going to, again, if you focus on that, that's how you're going to feel. So your thoughts. And remember, with the process of creation, we'll do this with theater of the mind. It's thoughts, words, and action. Those are the three things to create anything: thoughts, words, action. And we can reverse them and kind of use that to our advantage, but thoughts, words, and action. So the thoughts that you're having. The second thing is the feelings. First, become aware of what they are, those feelings. The thing with feelings and emotions, they make life exciting. You do not want your emotions to rule your thoughts, though. That's a problem that a lot of people make. They let the emotions drive the thought pattern. The thoughts, for the most part, should drive the emotions. We don't want to let the emotions drive the thoughts. Remember, those two parts of your brain oppose each other. If you're very emotional, the logic is going to go out the window. That's why we do stupid things most of the time. So this meta thinking that I mentioned, this is right up there to me with the skill of reframing. Super important. Thinking about what you're thinking about, being aware of the thoughts that you're having. That is a huge thing, to be able to step back and say, okay, I'm thinking this. Why am I thinking this? Or when did that start? Really examining your thoughts, thinking about your thinking is a huge thing, guys. And then what you see and visualize, what you hear and what you eat, right? These are part of the inner audit. So if you're feeling off with your mental game, you could just kind of run through this checklist and say, okay, where can I go to work on here? What am I picturing? What am I hearing? Like, are you listening to positive stuff, or what are you hearing inside your own head as far as that inner dialogue? So key thing. Question that you should journal and that you should think about, right? If we're talking about meta thinking and metacognition, what are you fearful of? This is the strongest human emotion. It's the most ancient. It's fear, right? Because that's survival based. What you fear, where fear really comes from, is purely for survival. You're supposed to fear things that could decrease your chance for survival. Here's the thing about fear. Once you get clear on it, right? Because usually it's not a once I realized that when I resigned from teaching, I had to do a lot of this mental work leading up to that. Right. So I resigned, and then I had basically 2 more months of teaching. They wanted 60 days. And then I was, free, to continue to grow the gym and run the gym. But there was a lot of head trash I had to work on. Right. Okay, you're going to stop teaching. What if this happens? What if that happens? And I realized that all these scenarios I was coming up with in my head, I still wasn't going to be dead. If it didn't work, I could still go work another job. I could do something. I had a skill set. So I realized the fear was imaginary. And that's what most fear is, guys. If you think of the timeline of life, you got past, present, future, past, present, future. Where does fear exist on that timeline? It exists in the future. The future doesn't exist. It never does. It's always here. The future is just a figment of your imagination. And once you realize that, it's very powerful. Once you realize that the future is just, it doesn't exist. And that's the only place fear can exist is in the future. Right? That means your fear is imaginary. And this is part of that inner game where you got to work on this stuff and really put these concepts to play and remember this stuff. And you literally, you can talk to yourself about this stuff. I catch myself all the time. Hey, you're thinking too far out. You're thinking about next week. You're thinking about this thing you got to do. What can you do right now? So different polarizing thoughts, right? So whether you, let's say, let's use politics as an example, whether you're liberal or conservative, it's the same energy frequency when you have these polarizing thoughts. Neither one is I'm not saying politics, but anytime you're black or white, you're Democrat, Republican, you might think you're better than the other side, but it's the same frequency. So you want to be mindful of not getting too caught up in stuff like that as far as your tribe, right? You don't want to get too caught up because it's you could believe what you're doing is right, which by all means might be, but if it's tied to this other side of the coin, it's not a good frequency. There was a good book, very excellent book that shaped a lot of my philosophy on life. It's called Power versus Force. I've read it a few times. In the concept, really fascinating. This doctor, tested all these things through kinesiology and just really cool stuff within the book. But this concept of power versus force, right? And he has the frequency of vibration. So I used to have that up in the gym. Maybe I'll put that back up. It was a hierarchy. And most people operate at the highest you could go is a level 1,000 on that, which is pure like bliss and love. That's like Jesus Christ. That's maybe like Buddha. Like Einstein was level 500. If you meet somebody that's at a level 300, that's a very rare thing. Right. So it's all about the frequency that you vibrate at. And a person at 300 can really affect a whole community. Most people operate right below the level 200, which is neutral. So most people are operating out of a spot of like fear or pride. And it continues to go down, but it's a really interesting thing as far as power versus force. Force is like you're pushing against each other. Right. This is never going to achieve anything. Right. Power is from a higher frequency. Power is you're not trying to overcome something, right? You're operating at a much higher, like a position of love or whatever you're doing. And I can tell you guys from firsthand experience about, what is that, 2 years ago now, almost coming up in May. And some of you guys, I think, had seen this stuff when we opened the gym against the governor. I did it from a place of complete power. I was complete peaceful. It was completely just from the good of my heart, wanting to help the community, right? To have normalcy. Now, if you look, and I'm trying to explain this so you guys can see this in a real life example. You had the gym Ian down in South Jersey. We opened the same day, right? We made the announcement first. You look at the results within 3 days, coming at it from the point of view that we came at, we had the governor, they wanted to meet and come to a compromise. But the guys in South Jersey at the gym in Belmar, they're still getting fines and all that. They came at it from a position of force versus force. So this stuff works in real life when you use it. If you want to eliminate something in your life, just ignore it, right? That's so a little mind map trick, not that you want to use this to hurt people. It's kind of an aside. Ignoring, okay, if you reach out to me and I don't get back to you, right, and you were waiting to hear from me, it hits the same pain center as physical pain within your brain. Ignoring in solitary confinement is like the cruelest form of punishment. I mean, when you cut off communication from people, when you ignore something in your life and think of it like you're not feeding it anymore, it's something you want to eliminate, it goes away. When you try to avoid it, you still give it power when you're trying to avoid it. You just ignore it and it dies. It's like a plant that you don't water. This one too, guys, is a very good visual for you guys, is let go of the rope. And I think I might have learned this from David Hawkins, who wrote Power versus Force. He's got a lot of books. I can't remember, but think of this concept. When you're having something going on in your life, let's say it's with somebody else in your life, and you have one end of the rope, and it could be a thing. It doesn't have to be a person. It could just be a situation. You have one end of the rope, that thing or that person has the other end of the rope. The only way there could be tension on that rope is if you're both holding on to it, right? And creating that tension. Well, all you have to picture in your head when this happens, it could be a negative thought pattern that you're having. Just picture yourself with your end of the rope, just dropping your end of the rope. That's all it takes. It's incredibly powerful. I've had a lot of people use this that have gone through mind map stuff with me, and they'll tell you it is a game changer. Once you get this concept, it's just a quick visual. Just drop your end of the rope. You don't have to keep pulling. Let the other person or thing keep pulling on it. They'll fall over, whatever, tie your end to a tree, but just let go of the rope. If somebody's, you hear somebody's talking or gossiping about you, don't get caught up in it. Just let go of your end of the rope. It's no big deal. All right, let's do some theater of the mind, because this is very powerful. This is, so when I was in high school, I was really big into basketball, and I rented this book by Dennis Waitley, who's a doctor or psychiatrist, and it was all about visualization for athletes. That was why I wanted to use this book in high school. So I was doing everything I could with basketball. And in the book, he goes over, and it really stuck with me. They had these Olympic skiers, these downhill skiers from Italy, Olympians, and they would hook them up to all these electrodes and, okay, let's see what happens when they go down the slaloms. And they'd record the brainwave activity. They'd record what happens with the nervous system, how the muscles were firing, all this stuff. And then they taught them how to visualize, and they didn't spend that long teaching them. It's not like they did this for like a year immersed into visualization. It was pretty quick over the course of a couple of weeks, teach them how to visualize. And then they hooked them up the same way. And then they had them close their eyes and just visualize going down the slaloms. The brain fired the same exact way as did the nervous system. So your brain doesn't know the difference whether you visualize something or you actually do it. Think about how profound that can be for your life. Now, theater of the mind with visualization. So I started using it then, but when with visualization, guys, most people say, well, I can't do it. I try to do it and then this happens. I assure you that you can do it. And I could tell you that because if you worried in your life at any point or you find yourself worrying still, that's a form of visualization. It's just negative visualization. Worry is the same thing as fear, right? You're thinking about something that might happen and it seems real to you. Now, luckily, negative frequencies in the mind and the brain aren't as powerful as higher ones. So if you read Hawkins' book, you'll kind of see that. So they're not, it's like a lot of the stuff you worry about, guys, never happens, right? So it's not that attractive. It's not that powerful, the negative thoughts. But if you worried in your life, you can visualize. So what I'm going to have you guys do here, we're going to go through this. I'll have you go 5 minutes. So it's not going to be that long. Sit nice and tall. Okay. You're going to close your eyes. I'm going to guide you through this. Do a couple deep breaths. Let's go in through the nose, out through the mouth. Now, what I want you to picture, I want you to see yourself walking down a street, any street you want, whatever comes to mind. I want you to picture what you're wearing, what the weather's like. And coming up on the street, you see a theater with your name on it. It's Andrew's Theater, Pete's Theater. You walk over to that, open the door, go up, and you purchase a ticket for the movie of your life. I want you to try to see this through the first person. It's more powerful if you can see it through the first person. You buy the ticket for the movie of your life. You walk over to the ticket collector, hand it in, they rip it up. They tell you it's the first theater on the right. So you walk down to that theater, you walk in, the theater's empty, it's just you. Pick any seat that you want within that theater. Walk over to that seat, sit down, you can picture what you're wearing. You're the only person in the theater. Now on the screen comes to life. And what you're going to play for the next minute or two is something that literally has already happened in your life. Think of one of the best moments or memories you've ever experienced, and you're going to start seeing that on the screen. I want you to relive it. And as the screen comes to life, I want you to put yourself back into that moment in time. See it, experience it through the first person. Who was there? What was the weather like? What was there music? Was there food involved? Just start running this through and see that on the screen. Could be the birth of a child. It could be a wedding day. It could be anything else. It could be a sports moment. Start running that movie on the screen. Slow it down, speed it up. If you get to the end, run it through again. Add more detail each time you do it. It'll let you work on that movie for about a minute here. Add as much detail as you can, guys. Okay, bring that scene to a close. Finish up that scene. And the screen goes blank. Now, the screen comes back to life, but this time, I want you to see something from your future. You're going to visualize it, something that you want to happen in your life, something you've been thinking about, dreaming about. Same thing. You're going to start playing it on the screen. Build the movie, add detail, be in the first person in this movie. Speed it up, slow it down. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do this. Something that you want to happen in your life. 2 minutes. Visualizing something you want to happen in your life. Add detail to it, guys. About a minute left. Picturing that scene that you want to happen. See it from the first person. Be in it from the first person. Start bringing that scene to a close. And you can open your eyes when you're ready. Okay. So that wasn't that long, guys, that you did that. That's a super powerful thing. If you take time every day to visualize, even if you just do it for a minute, this stuff works. It works. You just got to take the time to do it, though. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. You could put yourself into that state pretty quickly. I've seen this happen too many times in my life where you can't explain it through the three dimensions, right? The third dimension, but stuff will happen if you start doing this with the visualization and all that. It's just like prayer. You don't need to know how it's going to happen necessarily. Just because you're picturing this thing in your theater of your mind that's going to happen, you might have no concept. And that's why most people won't think like this, because they can't figure out all the things that have to happen from point A to Z. Just you're projecting up there what is going to happen, and circumstances will come into your life with that. So super powerful thing you can use. This part, I know we went over in the mind map lesson, the concept really of definitions. You need to take time to have your own definitions of what success is, wealth, happiness. If you don't take time to develop these, you're just going to take on everybody else's definitions of what success is, of what happiness is. And you're going to be chasing something that you're probably not even interested in. So really know thyself, get to know yourself, journal, work on the inner dialogue, the inner environment, read, like develop your own philosophy in life. That is a huge thing. And it should always be like a work in progress, but like really develop this stuff, right? Your philosophy is something you can pass on to your children and other people around you, but develop your definitions about what you believe, right? That's a great journaling session. If you just say, what do I believe? And just start writing out what you believe about the world and about life and about anything, right? Get clear on that stuff, but define those, at least those things. What is health to you? What is success? What is happiness? It makes your decision-making and big life decisions, and even small ones, much easier, much easier. So if you do the work on the front end with this stuff, it pays off. Most people waste so much energy by never deciding, by being wishy-washy with everything, by going after the wrong things because they haven't thought about this stuff. Here's some simple things you guys can start doing to really, work on the inner state. Set aside specific time for thinking specific thoughts. that is really kind of like the visualization. That could be affirmations. And that's putting air, what I didn't really go over that too much with you guys. That's the A is attention, the I is intentions, and the R is repetition. So put your attention on your intentions, and then you repeat, repeat, repeat. And this is how habits are formed. So you put your attention on the intention, and then whatever the habit is that you're working on, you keep repeating that, keep repeating that. So you do that, right? That's one thing you can do. Specific time to assess your feelings, right? And if you give the feelings a name, like if you're feeling down in the dumps, give it a name, because then you have ownership over it. And it's much easier to deal with than this thing that you can't really, that's abstract, that you can't really put your hands around. Visualization. Observe the positive aspects of your environment. Like what are you grateful for that's in your environment? Remember, what you focus on is what you feel. Great music. There's something that in the mind, in mind maps, called Hebb's Law. What gets fired together gets wired together. So whatever it is that is your favorite song, so go ahead and think of your favorite song. Something should pop into your head. Now that song became your favorite when something good or some period of time in your life was going on. Could have been a first kiss, could have been a dance, could have been your wedding day. It doesn't matter, but that song will instantly bring back those feelings. So it's very powerful. So put together a little playlist that's some of your favorite songs. That can change your state very quickly. Good food, right? You're fasting, but really enjoy the feast. Enjoy the feast. Start journaling, and then how do you slow things down? Always ask yourself that question. How do you slow things down? Now, I was journaling about something like that, about that this morning. No matter what's going on, you can be at peace, and you can go at your own pace. Remember this, even if you weren't fasting, if you wanted to make sure you were going to eat in the correct environment, there's a lot that goes into that with eating. We have the 3 joys of food. Are you in joy leading up to the meal? I mean, if you have a very stressful meeting coming up, or right before you're about to eat, let's say it was lunch or dinner, are you looking forward to that meal? So that's a key thing. If you're, when I was competing, I would go around with my Tupperware and broccoli and rice and chicken and, salt if I was lucky on it. I didn't look forward to that stuff. I was eating cold meals out of my car. So you want to be enjoyed leading up to the meal, and during the meal is big, and then after the meal. If those 3 things are present, you could be pretty sure that you ate the meal in the correct part of your nervous system, which is the parasympathetic. That's the part of your body you want to be into: rest, digest, recover, sleep. Most people are eating on the run. They're eating at work when they're having high stress stuff going on. They're distracted. 3 joys of food will make sure that you are eating in the parasympathetic nervous system. So that's key. So let's go over some review. And again, you guys are still going this week with training, muscle growth. So I went over that 2 lessons ago because I wasn't on live last week. Time under tension. Time under tension is a big thing for muscle growth. You got to keep the body part or the body under tension for a long time. Remember that muscle growth too it's systemic. It's not localized. So if you want it to get bigger, focus on some of the bigger lifts where you're using a lot of joints, a lot of muscle. Your deadlift, your hex deadlift, squatting for long periods of time. So I went over that with you guys. If you are training, let's say you're not training with Dustin Newell Strength, you want to remember, real simple, the body can push, pull, change levels, which is like your squat patterns. It can hinge at the hips. So that's your deadlift type pattern. And it can carry stuff. So those 5 categories, you could just slot things into, okay, I want to do a push. All right, what is that like? Is it a push-up? Is it overhead barbell press? Do you think of the function rather than body part? Fasting. So at this point, you guys should feel pretty comfortable with fasting and what you're doing with that. And once you get comfortable with that, that's when you shake it up and you start doing something a little different with the fasting potentially. but otherwise you stay the same. I've been doing the same thing now pretty much 3 years straight. And it just keeps working as you're doing it. Remember, with fasting, you're trying to control insulin. That is the main thing. Insulin is the monster hormone that really has an effect on nearly every other hormone in your body. And when insulin's released, that's going to signal your body to store, to hold on to. So we don't want that. We want insulin to be low to change our body composition. And you want there's an opposing hormone called glucagon. We want that to rise up. And that actually has to be elevated if we're going to lose body fat. Right. Now, glucagon is going to keep your blood sugar from going too low. Insulin is going to try to keep it from going too high. I will say, as you come out of Ripped Dads, stick with the fasting of some sort. If you go back to, if you were doing like 3 meals a day, or even for a lot of people, if you go back to eating consistently, like a 16/8 fast, it's not going to do much for your health. It's better than eating constantly, but that's, I would at least have 3-4 days a week of 1 meal a day. And anybody can do that. You guys have proved that to yourselves, but it's a much healthier way to live. And again, it's feast or fast. You should look forward to your meals more when you're doing that. All right. So went over a lot tonight. Let's go over questions before I give you the rundown of the week. What questions you guys have about anything with the mindset, fasting, testosterone, training, muscle growth, learning? Go ahead and unmute yourself if you got a question. What's up, Pete?
Hey, Cal, how's it going?
How you doing?
All right. I was trying to look it up in the group on Facebook. Someone had mentioned something about being sick, and you were mentioning a couple things. I was going to try to look it up. I forget what it was. You mentioned something.
Yeah. So chlorine dioxide. It was actually
Chlorine dioxide. Yeah. What is that?
chlorine dioxide. If you guys remember when COVID started in Trump, they were trying to blast him for saying take bleach. So that's referred to as chlorine dioxide. So you can get it. Actually, I'll find a link and put it in this chat box for you guys in a second. So chlorine dioxide, it's not bleach. There's 2 compounds, right? Citric acid, and one of them is soda. I got it upstairs. I use it every day. One of them is sodium. Then you combine these, they make chlorine dioxide. Now, so the way this was discovered, I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. I have his book upstairs, but he was out in this is not that long ago either, guys. We're not talking we're talking, the guy is still alive. So he was out in the Amazon with some of his team. I think they were mining for gold, and they got lost or whatever. Storms. I don't remember exactly what happened. And 2 of the team members got malaria. Right. And he didn't have any medicine. He had no way to treat them, really. They had this chlorine dioxide, because what it is, it's a water purifier. You can use it to put into water, and it kills anything in the water. So he says, well, what the heck? I got nothing else to try. He starts giving them chlorine dioxide. And within a matter of like a half a day, I mean, these people were really sick, these 2 people, complete turnaround. So eventually they make it back to civilization, to safety, whatever. And he starts researching it. So how the heck did this happen? So chlorine dioxide works through something called oxidation. So when you take it, basically oxidation, it'll pull, because of the way it's structured, any electrons from negative stuff in our body, like parasites, viruses, bacteria. Good stuff it doesn't mess with. So this has been well researched now. So let's say you have a virus, and this is why the media was blocking this so much, and they're trying to say it's bleach and all this. It's highly, highly effective. But it'll pull electrons away from, let's say, COVID. So it doesn't necessarily cure it, it just destroys it, right? Because it pulls the electrons away, and essentially those viruses, bacteria, parasites, they just their structure falls apart. So it's super, super powerful. I've been using it now since October. You kind of dose up to it. I do three drops a day in the morning for just maintenance. And it's such a good thing to be on and have handy for your family, though. It's chlorine dioxide. So that's what I was referring to. Let me find it and I'll post the link because I'll get it on Amazon.
Gotcha.
And that way you can just look it up. What other questions we got, guys? Let's see. What other questions you got? If we don't, I'm going to post that link here for you guys. Right, I'll put it in the Facebook group too. So we're going to have the training tomorrow night is going to be in Flemington, 7:30, excuse me, if anybody wants to make that. And at 6 a.m. in Hillsborough, I'll be working out with you if you want to come for one of the dad's workouts. And let's see what else. Final standings will be out early next week. I'll be reaching out. Evan, who some of you have met, Evan is our new marketing guy. We'll be reaching out to get Rip Dad's testimonials from you guys, which will help us a lot. So just keep an eye out for that. And let me just figure out how to get this link. Trying to think what else. Your shirts will be in, guys. I got to check with Sandy. I meet with her on Tuesdays to see when they're not going to be in, I don't think, but before the end of the week. But you'll be getting your Rip Dad shirts. So they're black and green, which I don't think we've done that combo before. So it should be pretty cool. And then we also got the, for those of you that are interested, the Shredders coming up. That starts on a week from today. 6-week contest, teams of 3. So if you're interested, just ask one of the coaches at the gym. Any final questions for this lesson? All right, guys. If not, then I will be seeing you guys soon. You guys all, I think, have my number. So you can reach out to me with any questions. And Pete, I'll talk to you tomorrow at 11:30, right?
Yep, that sounds good.
All right, guys. You guys have a good night.
Have a good one. Take care.
Later, guys.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
You're welcome.